So question, has God replaced Israel? Are we still supposed to support the nation of Israel? And what would that support look like? How can we support a modern nation of Israel today that seems so very distant and separated from the nation that we read about in the Bible? Now, those things should not be a debate, but they are. And this is a topic that is surrounding a term called replacement theology. Key aspects of replacement theology include the replacement of Israel in God's plan by the church, that the church is seen as the new or the true Israel, inheriting the promises originally made to the Jewish people. That Israel has been rejected and lost its special status with God, and that the promises of God regarding the land and the kingdom of Israel are interpreted now as spiritual truths fulfilled in the church rather than literal earthly promises. The Bible is very clear in Genesis chapter 12 that God chose a man by the name of Abram, and he established a covenant with him. And that covenant was not just to a man, but to a family and a nation that would come from that man. And the Bible says that through this man and his family, all the nations that follow of the earth would be blessed. God goes on in chapter 13 to talk about the land that he was given to him and to tell him that the covenant he was making with him was an everlasting covenant. God confirms that covenant. In Genesis chapter 15, gives a title deed to the land of the man Abram that would become Abraham. And then in Genesis chapter 17, he talks about Abraham's wife, Sarah, having a son named Isaac, and that Isaac would be the continuation of the covenant that God made with Abraham, and that it would also be a covenant to all the generations after Isaac as an everlasting possession, an eternal possession. And when God says eternal and when God says everlasting, he means eternal and everlasting. Now, there would be some in the church, and to be fair, not many, but some in the church that would say, well, with the coming of Christ, all that changed. And the fact is that the Apostle Paul himself was writing to the Romans, and he declared that God has not forsaken his people. He has not rejected them. In fact, he said that those who are Christians have instead been grafted into what God began with the Jewish people. It really is a beautiful story of God bringing in others to his plan and purposes, not to usurp a people, but to be adopted in. In Romans chapter 15, Paul continues that since Christians have received the spiritual blessing of being grafted in, the Christian owes the Jewish people material blessings, owing them a debt of gratitude. God chose the Jewish people to demonstrate the one true God to the world, and he has not turned his back on that covenant and that plan. A replacement would imply that God goes back on his promises. If that's the case, then none of us can trust God. God has not forsaken the Jewish people. So how could we replace someone that God says he doesn't want replaced? The thought is that because time has passed, that somehow these Jews are not those Jews. The Jewish people were exiled after the destruction of the temple by the Romans and the battles that followed, but there were still Jewish people that remained in the land of Israel. The exiled had been singled out across centuries and across cultures in the nations that they had assimilated to because they were Jews. There was never a doubt of who they were. They were targeted in the Crusades, in the Spanish Inquisitions, in the Russian pogroms, even in the writings of Martin Luther, because they were Jews. The Jewish people were placed in the ghettos and then placed in death camps by the Nazis because they were Jews. Again, there was never a doubt of who they were. It's the same religion, the same culture, the same language, the same DNA, the same people, and now they live in their ancestral homeland that was given to them as an eternal promise by God because they are Jews. They love the Israelites of the Bible, but they demonize the Jewish people of today. They want the stories of the God of the Bible while at the same time exterminating his people. You see, if you can disconnect the people of the book from the people of today, then you don't have to have any kind of empathy for what the people of today are going through. God has not broken his promises to national ethnic Israel. If he breaks his promises to them, then he would break his promises to us. And God is not a man that he should lie, the book of Numbers says. Those of us who are Christian believers have been grafted in. We have not replaced. We are not the replacement of the original branches. We have been grafted into the root of Israel. And in short, replacement theology, that God has turned his back on the promises that he made to Israel, is an old heresy not to be believed. God has not replaced Israel and the Jewish people.
Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to cufi.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.